For most of their life, Dr. Devon Price believed in working harder. They believed, like many of us do, that struggling was a sign of weakness and that pushing yourself to exhaustion was the badge of being good, being successful, being enough. But over time, their body and mind rebelled. Despite their productivity, they felt depleted, anxious, and hollow. That collapse was the beginning of a truth that shattered everything they thought they knew: laziness was a lie. In Laziness Does Not Exist, Dr. Price pulls back the curtain on a cultural myth so deeply rooted, we mistake it for truth. The idea that if someone isn't constantly productive, they must be lazy. That if you're not achieving, you're failing. But through psychological research, lived experience, and powerful stories, Price reveals that this mindset is not only wrong, it's harmful. Laziness, as Price explains, isn't real. What we call laziness is often a symptom of burnout, of trauma, of disability, of unmet needs. When a person doesn't try hard enough, they're usually operating under immense stress, mental illness, oppression, or physical exhaustion. They are not refusing to act, they are unable to continue. And yet, instead of compassion, society offers shame. This shame is so internalized that we turn it against ourselves. We don't ask why we can't focus, why we procrastinate, why we're too tired to reply to a text. We just decide we're failures. But Price invites us to reframe those moments. What if that inability to act is actually the body's wisdom? What if stopping isn't laziness, but an urgent call to rest, to listen? Price introduces the laziness lie as a toxic belief system made of 3 false ideas: that your worth is tied to your productivity, that you can't trust your instincts or feelings, and that there's always more you should be doing. These beliefs don't just come from nowhere, they're baked into our schools, workplaces, and cultural stories. And they keep us obedient, overworked, and ashamed. The book is filled with stories from students, workers, and activists who've been punished for needing rest or accommodations. A young man labeled lazy turns out to be struggling with undiagnosed ADHD. A mother judged for being late is actually managing chronic pain. A student failing school is silently navigating abuse at home. The label lazy hides suffering. It allows society to ignore the root causes. What's radical about Price's work is the assertion that rest is not earned. You don't have to prove your exhaustion to deserve a break. You don't have to hustle yourself into the hospital before you're allowed to stop. Human beings are not machines. We are cyclical, emotional, physical creatures. And ignoring our limits doesn't make us stronger, it makes us sick. One of the most impactful ideas is that procrastination is often misunderstood. It's not avoidance for fun, it's avoidance born from fear, overwhelm, or perfectionism. Price urges us to ask, what am I afraid of? What need is going unmet? Instead of blaming ourselves, we can get curious. We can support ourselves instead of punishing ourselves. That shift alone can change everything. There's also a powerful critique of hustle culture. In a world obsessed with constant self-improvement, where people brag about their busy schedules and monetize every hobby, Price asks, what if you don't have to earn your worth? What if you're already enough, even if you produce nothing today? Even if you rest? Even if you waste time? It's a liberation few of us are taught to believe. Burnout isn't just about having too much to do. It's about doing things that conflict with your values, that disconnect you from meaning, that stretch you thin in service of systems that don't care about your well-being. Price emphasizes the importance of saying no. Of scaling back. Of creating boundaries where society tells you to just try harder. This isn't laziness, it's self-respect. The book also touches on systemic oppression, how marginalized people are especially targeted by the laziness lie. Disabled people are labeled burdens. Black and brown people are expected to work twice as hard for half the reward. Fat people are constantly told they lack willpower. But Price makes it clear, the problem is not individual failure, it's a world that weaponizes productivity to enforce control. Part of recovery from the laziness lie is unlearning perfectionism. Many of us don't rest because we're afraid of being mediocre, afraid of being judged. But Price encourages us to redefine success, not as constant output, but as alignment with our values. Maybe success is showing up gently. Maybe it's doing less and doing it well. Maybe it's not about being more, but being whole. Another healing path is reconnecting with joy. The laziness lie kills creativity. It teaches us that unless we can monetize or optimize something, it's not worth doing. But Price champions hobbies for their own sake. Unstructured time. Play. Stillness. These things are not wasteful, they are restorative. They remind us what it feels like to be human outside of utility. As the book unfolds, the core message becomes clear: you are not lazy. If you're struggling to function, there's a reason. If you're exhausted, your body is speaking. If you feel guilty for resting, that guilt is a learned reaction, not a moral truth. And unlearning it may be the most important act of rebellion and self-love you ever undertake. By the end, Dr. Price doesn't hand you a checklist to optimize your life. They hand you something better: permission. Permission to be kind to yourself. Permission to trust your instincts. Permission to stop performing. You were never broken. You were just believing in a lie. And now, you are free to leave it behind.